Coming through the airways from Spokane, Washington, it's the QueerCentric podcast with your host, Queerly Jonny.
Well, hello, everyone. It is your favorite host, Jonny, and we're back on the mics at Lunarium. You guys had such a great response to when we were here last time with comedian Jared Lyons-Wolf, and we thought, why not do it again? First of all, the people here are amazing, so I just want to give a shout out for that. It is Spokane's only late-night tea house and coffee shop. They do have coffee, as I have Vietnamese coffee right there, but they also have delicious tea, who my co-host today... What's it called? I almost said moonshine.
Moonlight Silver.
So, werewolf, we decided.
Exactly.
You can kill a werewolf. And so, okay, so let's start. First of all, Jeremy Whittington, please tell our people who they're looking at.
Hello,
Supermodel.
our people. Supermodel, yes, exactly. Thank you so much. Well, my name's Jeremy Whittington. Mm-hmm. I am the artistic director at Stage Left Theater. I'm also the board chair of Odyssey Youth Movement here in town.
Yeah.
And a local artist, actor, teacher.
Set designer.
Designs.
What don't you do?
I don't do hair. My friend Troy and Freddie do my hair. Yeah.
Wait, so you have to
I have friends for that.
Supplement
Exactly.
our lives.
Right.
If it wasn't for Troy or Abby Crawford, then I wouldn't have my hair done.
Absolutely.
It'd be way down here, whatever's left of it at this beautiful age that we are. Thank you for coming on.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me.
I was talking to a friend this morning, and we talk about how there are certain people in our lives that are in periphery. And especially if there's someone that they're in periphery, if you always known of them, you respect the work they do, but for some reason never connected.
Absolutely, yes.
And then you're
my periphery partner.
See, periphery partners.
Oh,
That's our new business. It's coming to you next month. You were at an event I was lucky enough to be that they let me on stage, and every single time I MC an event, that's how I feel. Oh, I feel very lucky and humble, and I'm always surprised when people
oh, well, you're so good at it.
You were there.
I was there.
I saw you, and I'm like, well, here's my shot. I'm going to go say hi, because I haven't been able. First of all, you are very busy.
I am blessed with a full life, yes.
Which is beautiful. Yeah. Full and creative, which I think is a big deal.
Sure. Yes. I gave up the word busy in 2006.
I like this.
Yeah. It's had such a negative connotation when people would ask me, do you have time to do this? When can we do this? And for the life of me, for so long, I was always responding with, I'm just so busy. I'm too busy.
Right.
I'm a really busy person. And I was like, wow, that gives me internalized kind of anxiety about my life. So in 2006, my New Year's resolution, which I haven't made many in my life ever, but I kept this one, was to rid myself of the word busy and to instead say, I am blessed with a full life.
I think that's amazing.
No? Yeah, my schedule happens to be full.
Exactly.
How cool is that?
And that is amazing.
Yeah.
It was for me, I'm trying to remember what year it is today. Okay, so to me it was 2018, and I would keep saying to people or my dog, or it didn't matter what it was, I would say, I'm too busy, we're too busy for that, I don't have time for that. I don't have time, what I realized is I believe there's power in words. I've always loved words. Yeah, I find words powerful, and I also think they have this ability to create things in the world around us.
100%.
So I was like, I can't do this. I'm no longer going to say to the things I love, I don't have time for this. Because then I'm going to create a world where I don't have time.
This is fabulous to hear.
Yes.
I love this.
So I love that you did that same thing. And I try to use everything that I do to remind people that we can create a world that we want. Life is choose your own adventure. What adventure do you choose?
Absolutely.
We all have parameters, but it's all in how you see them. You know what I mean? The only limits are the limits you place on yourself. So that is one of them. Time is a construct. What are we going to do about it? So tell me the phrase you use again. You say, I am blessed.
I am blessed with a full life. Or I'm happy to have a full day today or a full week this week, but when can we schedule you in? So
I love that, especially because, first of all, I run by the belief is we don't know how long we're here. And I don't know what happens after, so if we don't come back, I want to make the most of the joy that I have
100%.
in this. Yeah, so I love it. See? I knew there was a reason years ago.
And we're starting with, if you're in that mindset, you're starting with an air of gratitude about you for your day, for your week, for your schedule even.
So important. So I do another little project called Mindful Mondays, and it's just 8 minutes with a counselor that I adore that has been around, and I want to give tools. I want to share tools. Like, this is how we all go through the spiral. Everybody's got some anxiety. How can we bring it back? How can we remember those things that we're happy for? Yeah. How can we reconnect and center it? Because we don't live in a culture that helps us do that.
No, we do
right?
not.
So it's up to us
Yeah.
to do those things. And I think creative people really have to watch that because we're sensitive, we're connected, our energy is all out there. So it's easy to get lost. And everybody deserves to be creative, and creative people deserve to be free.
Oh, I love that.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So there you go. So we are here. Jeremy is my co-host today. Kurt will tell you how perfect he is, and I agree. But also, hi. So that's all we're saying. But what's so great about Lunarium is, first of all, we want to encourage you all to please look up Lunarium's website. Find out if you need a late night coffee shop. It's not just for the college kids, but it can be. Show up and support these local businesses that are all around us doing this. And so they've been lovely enough to let us sample their wares, as they say. So Vietnamese coffee,
Moonlight Silver.
Moonlight
I believe
Silver.
I'm saying that right.
I always want to say moonshine, probably because that's a problem. So, but Moonlight Silver. And so tell me what is that? What is that? A zing? What is it doing to you?
No, it's real smooth, I would say. Hints of honey. I would say this is a calming tea.
I like
a
that.
tea that's going to make me not too verbose for this show.
Right. Well, I've met you long enough that's going to be just us.
It's probably going to be a problem.
We are just verbose.
We are.
But also, it's great for this time. You've been working all day. Speaking of your creativity,
yes.
You help with not just one theater, Stage Left we love, but you were over in Coeur d'Alene? Where were you?
Yeah, I'm helping with the fundraiser for Lake City Playhouse. They're putting on Matilda the musical at the Kroc Center.
That's amazing.
They open October 20th and run for 2 weekends. That's the theater that got me back into the arts.
Oh,
Lake
wow.
City Playhouse, yeah.
I was there at one point in my life. The great, sadly passed Lance Bass not Lance Bass, that's from NSYNC.
Bassett.
Lance Bassett had convinced me to go do a nonsense part, which I would have loved, but it was it was unfortunately a lot at that time. I loved working with Lance. I got to work when he did the revival at that time of Rocky Horror. And
Lance directed me in the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee there at Lake City Playhouse.
And Lake City is so nice. I was able to go to rehearsals there. Sadly, I never hit the stage, but such a great asset for that community.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. And honestly, we're not that far. So if you're in Spokane, it's not that big of a trek.
No, it's 30 minutes.
Worth it.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
Great little art house.
So much when I saw Jesus Christ Superstar there.
I designed that. That was the last show I designed there before I took off. Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
beautiful. Everybody did such a beautiful job. This is, okay, so we are going to get to this. Everybody knows when I'm on a show, we just go everywhere. So we're just down for the ride.
Sure.
But what I love especially about Stage Left even, I love people who are so creative and so good at what they do that they can take a small black box in Stage Left and make it. First of all, you never even think about it when you're in there seeing a show. Never. Because everything is always designed so well. Small stages don't matter.
Agreed.
What you design and put on that stage is everything.
100%.
You know what I mean?
And small stages are my favorite. I've worked in very, very large theaters and designed for theaters, lots of theaters.
Oh, sure.
And something about the intimacy of it, I think, too, when the stories are being told on stage.
Yeah.
And I love the wow factor when someone walks into a space and they're like, oh, you just did Sweeney Todd in a 19 by 24 foot space.
Yes. Yeah. And yet wouldn't feel, that's the joy of theater, that suspension. We talk about suspension of disbelief. That feeling, if you don't know, is you forgot the whole time where you're at, how small it is. It is this camaraderie between everybody who's there together watching a beautiful show, which is, I tell everybody who talks to me about wanting to get in film and stuff, do it. You get in film. But I'm telling you, the smartest thing you'll ever do is cut your teeth on live theater. There is
I would agree
nothing
with
like
that.
it, and it will give you tools that you can take to whatever you're going to do that you won't get anywhere else.
You won't. No,
yeah,
it's
and that's what's fascinating.
the interpersonal skills that you develop when you're in a cast or a crew or backstage.
The
or
live wire
all of it.
of live theater.
Absolutely.
The someone dropped a page of lines, and you find your way together.
And we have to mention that one thing that they forgot. So how do we weave
Yes,
that back into our
exactly.
storyline? Yes.
Yeah, and that's the joy of theater. But at the same time, just seeing the creations that come across. We were talking before. Stage Left has one playing right now.
We do.
Yeah, Minimum Wage.
Minimum Wage by David Bullis, who is our resident artist.
I love. See, they have resident artists. These are the things that excite me. It's running through the 22nd, I believe.
It runs through the 22nd. And this weekend, there are actually no shows. One of our cast members caught COVID, so we had to cancel this entire weekend. So we've added 2 performances. We've added a Saturday 2 o'clock matinee this coming Saturday on the 21st, and a 7 p.m. show on Sunday the 22nd. So that will
That's
actually
so
be our
nice.
closing show.
Oh,
And they're
it's-
filling up quick because we were almost sold out already.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've heard nothing but amazing things. Also, COVID isn't dead. Isn't it surprising? We're always
so
so
weird.
shocked.
I know.
I have a coworker, and I'm like, yeah, this happens. Now, did you ever have it?
I did. I had it last September for the entire run of one of our shows, Admissions. So
And it kicks your
It kicks my-
ass.
it did.
Yeah.
I got it
It's
rough.
crazy. Yeah, it's rough. Now, I only know because I've been lucky, and I know that's going to change because eventually it has to because it's not going anywhere. But I've been lucky and I haven't had it this whole time. But I've known many wonderful people, including family members, and what it does to them. I'm like, please no, I'm a delicate flower, and that could destroy me. But it's a lot. And so when you're doing live things, live theater, these are the things, those are the other things you learn. How do you pivot? I
Right.
say pivot is a life skill.
It is.
You know, sometimes something's going to happen, you're going to need to pivot, and you might need to pivot fast.
You know, when I took over Stage Left, I took over December of 2019 and designed 2 shows. We were in the middle of rehearsals for our 3rd show, and COVID hit. And we immediately shifted to an online presence where we got the rights to do a whole bunch of one-person shows. So it would be the director, the actor, a stage manager, and a videographer, spaced socially distanced in the theater, and we would record them. And we had viewership in Argentina, New Zealand, Belgium, all over the world.
I have no
all
doubt.
over the world.
Because all of us were also captive, so we
we needed some fresh something.
Exactly.
You know? And of course, it's not the same thing as live theater. You know, I heard that from
Right.
so many people. Like,
Well,
well,
no
that's
kidding.
not live theater. I'm like, well, duh.
Yeah,
We're
where
in
are you going to
lockdown.
live? Yeah, where are you doing that?
Right.
Yeah, tell the story. I was in LA when it hit, and I had just cast a show that I had written, and we had 7,000 people audition, and we were a week away from being on location, and then everything shut down. And of course, in the beginning, none of us knew what was going to happen or what it was. And so we pivoted, and until we could get into a studio and shoot it, we shot what I call an example. 60 episodes, we rewrote everything, and we did it all through Zoom as if these characters were in
Fantastic.
Zoom. Because I'm like, actors, you get them when you get them. So
That's right.
we're going to figure out how to do this together. And then it just allows you, we used it to allow us to understand the characters more, and it could make it better. But pivot. You have or you can go cry in the closet and just, you know what I mean?
It's one or the other.
The options are. So, as you know, as you're used to with your host, Jonny, I like to go where the conversation takes us, and I'm way more interested in a good conversation than about really anything else. But I try to give you some structure. So before we move forward, we have said that we are going to taste test some
yes,
things.
that's right.
And I only remember 1.5 of what these are.
I remember them.
Okay, this is the Mexican hot chocolate,
That's
right?
the one you remember, yes.
Yeah. Well, that's because it's chocolate in it. And
Yep.
so we are going to tell you how delicious they are. But you made a comment before where you're like, well, what happens if they're not delicious? Which, of course, you know they all are.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, we don't know.
All right.
So we are going to try. But I love a good Mexican hot chocolate. There's
So
a
do
little
I.
bit of a spice.
A little cayenne
you
in it.
know? Look at me eat on camera. Actually, that was really good. I would eat that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, because it's the back note where you
Little
get
zing in the
that.
back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great marshmallow, too. Like, chewy. The whole thing. This is the gluten-free one, by the way.
Oh yeah, this is gluten free. proof that if it's gluten-free, it doesn't mean it's not delicious.
And most of the products here, she said, are
Yeah,
gluten-friendly,
gluten-friendly, which also is a new term to me that I absolutely love.
This is delicious.
I'm gluten-friendly, so
I'm very
works for
friendly
me.
to gluten.
Yeah, me too. We are besties. We are really close. So that's actually good. So that's, and I'll probably end up eating the rest of it. Eating on camera, people, you better be nice. That's all I'm saying. I love you all. Now there's a lemon. Is it a lemon zinger or something like that?
Lemon zest cookie, I think.
Yeah.
And
So
this is not gluten-free.
This is not. This is the one thing we have that is not.
It's very
All at
light.
Lunarium, it is.
We both did this. It's very,
very
light.
light.
Can you see how light this is?
I love it. Okay. Are you a lemon dude?
I am.
Okay, so yeah.
So is my husband. He's all tart.
See?
No sweet.
You just called your husband a tart. You know.
That's lovely.
I mean, that is not bad at all.
Even the flavor's light. Mm-hmm. You know?
And yeah, it's just like a little note. I like it. Now this is your new. This is Martha Stewart's cooking show. That's really good though. This looks amazing, but I don't know what it is.
On top.
I want to do Martha's cooking show with Snoop Dogg. That's the one I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this one is a tart. I
This
remember
is a
that much.
Pear and walnut tart.
Oh, see, he has a much better memory than I do.
I don't know if that's true. It's just about food. When I hear what
remember
I'm
my
about to put in
food.
my mouth, I want to know exactly what it is.
Yeah, this is true.
Well-
I should, but it doesn't always happen. Okay. That is a lot.
We both found that the pear comes out very
It's-
easily.
Yes, and there's a lot of the pear. Yeah, it wasn't pieces, just big thing. That actually is really good.
Really good.
And they make them all here.
That crust is crunchy but light, and
I love a good pear. Because
do
you know how
too.
they can get soggy and icky
They
if you
do.
bake them? Yeah. Anything that I
and that
bake
can
in
happen
the
with the
kitchen.
crust too. But this
Yeah,
did not
that's
happen
really
with this crust.
So you can get them at Lunarium. So remember that. And then I love, this is the problem. Anxiety and add caffeine to it. I do it every day. Not smart, but I do it anyways.
Me too.
And a good Vietnamese coffee kicks your butt. Yeah, I love it. Okay, so please, we love the people here, so please support them. I want to get to, the conversation that I want to have is one that people know that I love, which is, I was talking to a person this morning. Have you ever done the artist way, Julie Cameron?
I have.
Me too. Years and years
Lovely.
ago, right?
Years ago.
Beautiful. It's reconnecting to your artistic self, to finding your creativity. And one of the things she talks about in there is being a shadow artist. A lot of us want to be in the, whatever chosen field of creativity you are. And maybe we choose to do a wonderful podcast. But you surround yourself, which is great. And I always say surround yourself with the people you want to be. Do that. But it's this idea of how do we take ourselves from out here, being, orbiting the creative and trusting yourself enough to find it. I'm curious in your journey, because you've, been here a while like I have. When did it come? Has it always been your whole life is creativity? Your career can be creativity? Or was it a journey to get there?
Wow. My artistic side was nourished at a very young age. I grew up in Anaheim, California, and my grandparents were big in the theater scene there.
Nice.
And so they would take me at 4, 5, and 6 years old to audition in Hollywood for the New Little Rascals or for the Charmin commercials. I auditioned for
that's
so many
so
commercials,
cool.
and I
Yeah.
was not a cute kid. I was not. I had some funky teeth and some chubby issues and some hair stuff going on. But
I'm here to say there's
God-
no such thing as a chubby issue.
no.
Never.
Oh, I love that. Well, I didn't say it was a bad issue.
Right, exactly.
But for Hollywood in the 70s,
Right, well, for
they wanted
Hollywood
a
now.
specific, yeah, they wanted that specific look. Anyway, so I started drawing at a young age, and any chance I got in high school, I had a pretty easy time at school intellectually, so I would finish my tests early and I'd draw comics on the backs of the tests for my teachers.
Yeah.
And some of them liked it and some of them didn't. But anytime I'd have a book report, can I do it on a graphic novel?
Love
They'd be
that,
like, well,
yeah.
that's not really literature. I'm like, no, it is. I learned most
yeah.
of my vocabulary from this.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
was
remember
like-
learning cornucopia from a graphic novel and
that.
Tesseract, and these are at a young age, and
yeah.
I'm like, I can use words. Yeah,
Listen,
anyway.
we disrespect the graphic novels. They don't even know.
I know,
Yeah.
for real. So I would say I was very artistic from a young age. My father was a traveling minister, and I was always in small little towns from the south, far deep south, Hobson,
Yeah.
Alabama to Sugar Grove, Ohio. I mean, that was my age 6 to 18 was traveling in these small little mission churches.
And I always think that church has a lot of theater to it. There's just a lot. You know what I mean?
There is.
I mean,
Yeah,
so it's a
absolutely.
good training ground.
It was a very good training ground. I went to school at Ohio University. I had a full ride scholarship for theater. My freshman year, I met my very first boyfriend ever, Vic Schonk. He's a big designer up in Michigan now.
Wow.
And we were casting Greater Tuna.
Oh, wow.
And I told my dad, because of his pulpit theatrics, I said, and his sense of humor, I said, you should audition for this show. And he's like, oh, really? He's like, yeah. So my dad was in my first production that I was behind the scenes at
That's
in Greater
crazy.
Tuna, playing all these different roles.
I was going to say, and that's a larger than life
it is
production.
dark comedy. The men play all the women, and
Right.
it was, we became best friends during that process. My
That's
dad and
amazing.
I came out during that process. So
Wow.
it was a very interesting time for that
and
relationship.
He is listen, I stalk all my guests.
Yeah.
And I know he has been so lovely with you, and you're married now and wanting to meet your husband. Was it always that when you were growing up and coming out?
No. I told him I came out to my mom first. My mom was a banker, and I'd have lunch with her all the time because I was obsessed with my mother. She was, she's since passed, but we were best friends. And every once in a while, she'd just out of the blue, "Are you gay?"
Yeah.
Because she had a best friend who was gay.
Wow.
Yeah, Jerry Whittington. He ended up dying of AIDS. This was in 1990.
Wow, so just at that.
And so she had this preconceived notion about what being gay was going to mean if her son was gay.
Yeah.
And finally I did when she asked me one time. We were at the Sizzler in Lancaster, Ohio.
As you do. As you do.
Yes. And she goes, "Are you gay?" And I said, "I don't know. I just met Vic, and she goes, "Oh, no."
Oh,
And it was rough, and I told her not to tell my dad, and she told my dad, of course.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was at Vic's, and they told me not to come home. Like, it was a little rough.
Yeah.
But the next morning at 6 a.m., my dad showed up at Vic's house and picked me up. And he said, "I want you to know that I feel so bad if you ever for a moment felt that I didn't 100% love you unconditionally."
That is
know.
beautiful.
So I had one day of trauma in my
right.
coming out story.
That's hope. A lot of people write in letters and
Yeah.
want to ask if there's because you're an older gay man. I always get that, which is fine. And so they want to know, is there hope? Telling my
Absolutely.
parents.
And
That's a beautiful story.
Yeah, and that's my Southern Baptist minister dad, and
love that.
and we became quick friends. There was just an openness after that.
Yeah.
That we didn't have to agree with each other on politics or religion or anything, and we could respect each other and love each other still through all of that. So
That's amazing.
It opened up a lot of worlds for me of other acceptance of other people too.
Oh,
you
for
know?
sure.
Yeah.
I always said that is way different than my story. I love my mom and my dad. My dad has since passed, but love them. We made it through. But my favorite story is that my dad said to me, "I have faith that the first time you have sex with a man, you will throw up." And I remember the first time I wanted to call my dad and be like, "I did it. I did not." And
In fact, it was great.
Yeah, my partner was like, "I don't know if that's a good idea." I was like, but we all go through our own journeys,
We do.
and even our parents go through their own
for
journeys,
sure.
and you hope that in the end we find the love
Yeah.
that we need. In Spokane right now, we're going through with Odyssey, being hit again by hate. So we go through that, and our kids need to feel safe and supported and celebrated.
100%.
And we need to celebrate ourselves because I don't think we do that enough. So glad that there are people out there, first of all, with good stories. Second of all, that are involved in those organizations
Sure.
to be like, listen, I'm here. I'm going to put some love out there. And that is amazing. So you had this really nice, supportive way up. So did you go to school to do what you do today?
I didn't know what I was going to do in terms of theater. I actually got involved with it because my first boyfriend was in theater.
As we do.
And I was like, I want to be a theater person too. And the middle of my junior year, I discovered the gay bars and partying and drugs. And I dropped out of college to be a party animal. And I stayed that way for a couple of decades.
Wow.
Yeah, it got really, really bad. I went from one drug to the next until I was a homeless meth addict.
Wow, you are kidding.
Yeah.
Because in reading your story, there's a mention of a date, and it's just like a line in
yes,
a
sure.
thing. And so I'm fascinated by this. And you talk about getting clean and sober at 2009.
I did.
But I had no idea where it was coming from. So that, I like to think, so nowhere near as long as that, but it does tend to take over everything. You know what I mean?
It does,
take over life, personality, just take it over. For me, it was for hiding. It was
Sure.
So what was it for you, and what was the moment where you're like, okay.
Yeah, I think for me it was that escape from internalized shame, internalized homophobia, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It allowed me, if you will, to be this alternate personality of outgoingness, and it allowed me to explore things that I wanted to explore without fear of retribution.
Yeah.
And then, I was taught that when you become an addict, you kind of cross this invisible line, and you don't really know when that was, you know, because for a while it was really fun. For a long while, it was really fun.
It doesn't hit that.
No, absolutely. No, I have some great stories about the times that I had too.
That's why youth is fun and also not.
Yeah, and once I crossed that invisible line, there was really no going back for me, and it did take over everything. I was fortunate enough that I'm pretty employable.
Yeah.
And I was an actor, so I could act my way into just about anything.
Yes.
But yeah, there were those decades. There was no creativity in my life, none, zero. I would start drawings and not finish them, and be sad about that, and and I had no stability at all.
Yeah.
I think it really. What changed for me, and I'll make this quick, but in February of 2009, I was sitting across the table at Sukiyaki,
Oh, yeah.
coked out of my mind,
Yeah.
drinking a whole bunch, and they had already shut down, but since I tipped really well, I could stay as long as I wanted,
Yeah.
And I was sitting with my best friend Jesse, and he paused, and he goes, I think I'm an alcoholic. I said,
Wow.
I think I am too. Wow. He goes, we should quit.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. And he goes, let's quit tomorrow. And he went to shake my hand. I was like, no, not tomorrow.
Right.
Oh my God.
Let's
be
talk
realistic.
about this. Yeah.
I said, I need a first of a month to do this right. Because I'd quit smoking cigarettes, which was harder than anything, honestly. Really, it was harder than anything. So we agreed that we would quit on March 1st, and we did. And I wasn't going to quit smoking pot, so I didn't.
Right.
And then on March 9th, so it was March 17th, 2009 is my sobriety date, but on March 9th, I woke up in a puddle of puke, and I had spent $300 on booze the night before and don't even remember because I'd ran out of weed.
Right. Yeah, right? I have to go to something.
I was like, I guess I have a problem with all of this.
Yeah.
So I had to make that decision to...
Not easy. Not easy. You're talking about cigarettes, all of it.
All of it.
Not easy to
No.
change. Listen, and I can also add, I hid in food then.
Oh gosh, I'm there now.
Its own thing, right?
I'm there in food now.
There's a comfort. And
right.
it's funny because I think anything can be an addiction because it's more about the frame of your mind.
It really,
doing.
it's about changing the way I feel about something.
Yeah.
And drugs, alcohol, sugar, gambling, sex, all of these things, right? All of these things can change how I'm feeling either about myself or about the world.
Yeah.
And until I got to a point, it took a little while after I quit, all that, to be comfortable with who I am as myself.
Right.
And then things got easier.
Yeah. And did you find the creativity tend to trickle back in?
Yeah,
like
you know what? That was one of the scariest things is I thought I was not going to be funny anymore. I was never going to have sex again because I was always having sex on all these things.
Yep.
And I'm not going to be creative because all my creative stuff sparked from all of these mind-altering substances.
Because we convince ourselves that our creativity is not innate.
No, it's linked to something. Yes.
Yeah, and we don't. That's part of the celebrating self that I'm always push.
I love
which
that.
Is we need to remember, no, you're allowed to say, I love this, I'm good at this, this is what I do, and it not be connected to whatever outside that
100%.
you need it to be.
I agree.
That's insanity. So the creativity starts trickling back in.
It did, yeah.
And so it's never as easy as, and then overnight, everything was perfect.
So a little bit of overnight. So when I was about a year sober, I decided to go back to college, and I thought, well, I'm artistic. I need something marketable. So I went back to college for graphic design. And summa cum laude, 4.0. I was like putting my all into it. I was managing Tomato Street restaurants at the time.
Oh, nice. I ate there a lot.
Yeah, and I'd been with that company for years. The owner had seen me through my very worst and my very best, and was so supportive. And right when I was about to graduate with my BFA in graphic design, I saw an ad in Lake City Playhouse because I was out there in Coeur d'Alene for Les Mis auditions.
Yes, wow.
I went in and watched Sweeney Todd there on their little stage, and I was just in awe. I signed up on their mailing list. Then I told the owner of the company, I was like, I have really good assistant managers. I would really like to audition for Les Mis. It was the first thing I'd ever seen, a big musical.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I think you should do that. So I did, and I got 8 little roles in the ensemble. My prisoner, and I was the first prisoner to walk on stage. Look down, and my prison number was my sobriety date.
Oh, that's brilliant!
Isn't that cool?
That's the joy of creativity.
I know,
right?
Love that. So it kind of did. There was a little bit of overnightness about it.
Yeah.
The next show I auditioned for and got one of the leads, and during that time, the artistic director said, "Hey, I heard you're an artist." I was like, "Yeah, can I draw you a comic book or design you a logo?" He goes, "No, I need you to paint a set in Spokane."
Oh, wow.
I was like, "I don't know how to paint." He goes, "I've seen your artwork. You do. You just never have picked up a brush."
Right.
I
just
came
a different
over.
medium.
No, I'd work at Tomato Street from 8 to 5. I'd go and do the show from 6 to 11, and I'd drive over to Spokane, and I'd paint until 3 in the morning.
Oh,
I did
my
that
God.
for 3 weeks, yeah.
Oh,
for a show called Boeing.
That's when you're thankful to be young.
Oh my
Because wow.
Well, I was 37. So,
oh no.
Yeah.
I would be tired.
How young I was. I was tired. Yeah. But I was so pumped just to have some
That's
sort of
amazing.
art,
Yeah.
And then the reviews for the play. It was a lovely play. One of the best acted play I've seen ever. And my name was in the paper for how cool the set was.
Oh,
and I was like,
wow.
oh my God.
Right.
I'm associated with art publicly.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
such a transformative moment. And the artistic director said, I want you to be my resident designer. Just from that moment, I was like, wow, exactly. That's the
insane.
feeling. Yeah. And then he told me what he could pay me. And I was like, oh, wow.
That hurts.
That hurts.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I gave Tomato Street 3 months notice and decided to throw myself into an art career for very little money.
Did you ever imagine that you would be doing your career as it's such a broad, expanding as you are now? Like getting to be the managing director.
No, not at all.
Because the other thing is Stage Left is known, and this is why I've always loved them, they are really in the art for me. They will do politics. They don't shy away.
No,
from,
we're not afraid of much.
And that's because to me that's theater. To me that's what theater should be. That is what theater is about. Did you ever think you would be running that kind of a organization?
No, I didn't. And I do have that left brain, right brain kind of cohesion going on. I can run a business very well. I did it for years. I did it while I was fucked up.
Right.
But I have this artistic side too.
Yeah.
And so I think that landing at Stage Left after kind of having a career in the arts in different states around the country, landing at Stage Left really allowed me to have a full expression of who Jeremy is as a human.
Right.
I like to organize things and have control over money and balances. I'm very good with those kind of things.
Yeah.
But also I need to express myself and create Sweeney Todd in a 19-foot space.
Yeah.
So I never would have imagined. I'm so blessed. I mean, I'm just
right. And that this is it, and that you get to express something. I always ask artists that, do you think that I think as an artist, probably everything about us influences and, dictates our art. But do you think queerness also plays a part in that?
Oh, 100%. I couldn't do the things that I do in my art without, for me, being an out queer man.
Right.
Right. I think that the insights that I've gained over the years as being, gay, have allowed me to be fearless about certain things in my art.
Yeah.
And it's, the two biggest emotions, my friend Michael tells us this all the time, and I love it. The two biggest emotions that we have as human beings are fear and love. That's it.
Yeah.
Everything stems from those two things.
Exactly.
And I find that when I lean into love, that things happen well.
Yeah.
And when I'm stifled by fear, and as recently as June, I went through a big bout of depression, and it was all stemming from a lot of fear and anxiety in my life that I didn't realize that was what it was.
Right.
But when I let that go and just lean into the love, whether it's the love of art or love of myself, love of my fellow human beings, love of the earth, love of whatever
amazing.
is bigger than us. And, my queerness also kind of shaped my view of my place in the world.
Yeah.
Especially coming from a kind of repressive youth with a minister father who, we were in the South, the deep South for a long time when I was starting to realize who I was. And so I draw superheroes, and then I draw really kinky cartoons.
Right? I mean, just
because there was no porn around, so I had to make my own.
Yes, exactly. I know. This is true stuff. I understand this.
Yeah, sure.
And especially when you're, Southern Baptist isn't known to be very open to us queers.
True.
You have to find that we're always looking for ourselves. We're always looking for a piece of us. And so sometimes you have to create that piece, literally right in front of you. You know what I mean?
I do.
So I think that's amazing. I also find so creatives, and like I'm not just saying it's just creatives, but creative people do have a tendency to bury ourselves in anxiety and depression.
Absolutely.
I think on a non-scientific, no proof level, that it's because, I think I said this before we went on the mics, it's because we are more open. I think creative people want to express things, so we tend to be a little more raw. And that can sometimes mean, that it's going to kick our ass, and that's hard. And so you have to watch yourself, because like you said, you didn't realize that it happens to all of us.
It does.
Right? So I find it fascinating, and I try to encourage people to recognize that does happen, and what can you do to help yourself in those moments, and it doesn't make you bad, it doesn't make you good. There is no moral assumption or an assignment to that, to have that feeling. The other thing that I find fascinating in creativity is and being queer, is we are constantly on a journey, constantly. And what's great is we just get better at going, okay, I want to express this. And I think I like to say I just get too tired to really care a lot as I get older, so I just want to try things. But
I need a nap.
Thank you. My brother refuses to nap. I'm like, no, give me a nap any time of the day. But and hopefully this is good to talk about, but you did a photo shoot with a friend of mine who I had done some photos with you yourself, and also it was because you had engagement photos as well. She's amazing, but we were talking. She was telling me about how you weren't sure how you wanted to express yourself, and that there was a moment of trepidation in the way that you chose, and yet the photos are stunning. Absolutely stunning. Can you talk about, we're gay men, we've been out a while. Can you talk to me about finding your way to say, this is what I want to do in this? Photography is a creative thing. It's such a way to put something out there, and you can't take it back. You know what I mean?
Right.
What was that journey?
We were talking a little bit before this on the mics too. As gay men, especially growing up in the 80s, 90s, there was certain boxes that we were put into based on looks or occupation or monetary value or whatever.
Right.
The labels that we wore, and those labels became our labels, right?
Yeah.
And I think that for me, it was this discovery of, I'm gender nonconforming.
Right.
I'm male-bodied, and I call myself a man.
Right.
I use all pronouns. You can use any of them.
Exactly.
And sometimes I wear dresses, and sometimes I wear very masculine gear. And sometimes I wear makeup, and sometimes I don't. And my fingernails might be painted while I'm very masculine, or So it was a real journey for me, and that journey really started with the expressions of these young queer actors working with them. This generation is they're non-apologetic.
Yeah,
they are who they are.
Yes.
And I have to give us props. We fought for their right
Oh,
to do that.
hell
You know,
yes, yeah.
they don't. A lot of them don't know what
Right.
that journey looked like as a society. You know, I lived through the AIDS epidemic. I
Yeah.
lived through marching for all these different rights that now
Yep.
a lot of them take for granted. But what
Right.
they have given back to us, for
Yes.
me, has been this sense of self-acceptance that
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to have, or I didn't allow myself to have.
Exactly.
And so I get to express myself now creatively
Yeah.
in the things I wear,
Exactly.
how I want to talk, how I want to dress.
And can I tell you what I love that they're doing? Because, like you were just saying, it's a give and take, and that's what I love. You know, they teach us, we give, and that's beautiful. That's
is beautiful.
That's the circle. That's what life should be.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating to me always is the rules we have put on ourselves for things that don't matter.
Oh my gosh, how insane is
Arbitrary.
that?
And us creative people should be the ones that are like, no, I'm gonna do that. Like I'm going to work and I bought this great nail polish this year and it sparkles and I'm doing the eyeliner and the whole thing. And part of it is, well, why shouldn't I? I feel like I want to express something this way.
Right.
Why shouldn't we as creative people, first of all, begin what these fearless younger people have already begun, which is to say, do you understand that we decided what was man and what was woman? We decided what was appropriate to, it doesn't matter.
Gosh, no, it doesn't matter at all. Right.
And how does it make you less who you are? By just changing the way you see me. You know what I mean? It's so ridiculous. So that's, I think, why when I saw the pictures that came out, they were so... I thought they were beautiful. Absolutely
Thank
stunning.
you. I do too.
And I hope you have them in there. You know what I mean?
I do.
They're such a beautiful... And I encourage anybody, Beneath Your Beautiful
Beneath
is
Your
the name
Beautiful,
of the magazine that she does. And it is... So you can find these. She shares them on there. It is absolutely... And it was nice to see this guy expressing who he was. And this was before we had a conversation, any of it. But it was nice to have that, because you know what it did for me? Let me tell you what it did for me. Then I had, I was going to do a live show. We hadn't done a live show in years.
Okay.
Do a live show. I had a stylist because I wanted to look good. And he wanted me to try some non-binary clothing. And I thought, I've never done this. But also, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
What I was seeing. And I allowed that moment, but I had seen your pictures, and I remember thinking, why does it matter? And it is, I did it for a photo shoot the other day, or this summer. I did a photo shoot wearing these beautiful sweater and this big one. I looked like Stevie Nicks, and I loved every minute of it,
Oh
right?
my God, that's great.
And it was because I had never allowed myself that permission. And then it was that conversation. I saw yours, and I was like, why am I so, I think this is so amazing. Why is that a problem for me?
Right.
To do those same
Sure.
things. And I think when we do creative things, we don't understand always, which I always say I hope I never fully understand, what that does for someone else. If we had never met, you would never know.
That's
and
true.
I guarantee that if one person, just little old me, then there's 30 other people.
Oh, I love
you know what
that.
I mean? But all you had to do was authentically be who you were.
Yeah.
And that is beautiful.
Thank you for that.
Oh,
And you
for
know,
sure.
and what that does for us moving forward is it allows us to give permission to others to do that. Like
Exactly,
there
yeah.
is something very special about how, especially in the queer community, but even broader than that,
Yeah.
this level of acceptance that we are giving people permission to be
Yes.
who they are, and
Exactly.
accepting them immediately, giving that unconditional love that for the longest
Yes.
time was defined in certain ways for us in our lives. And
Yeah.
we get to give it to ourselves, and then we get to return that
Exactly.
to other people, and that is such a
And
cool
that
experience.
is what will change the world.
100%.
That is, I think about the ugliness that is happening all around us, and people don't know what to do. And you know what we do is, like you were saying earlier, basically step out in love. There you go. Love and fear, so choose love.
That's right.
I always say never lead from insecurity. Always find the love. Lead from there, because we will always mess it up because insecurity is fear.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we will. So it's not always easy at all, because that fear is hiding in there. But if we just choose to lead from love, if we choose to embrace ourselves with love, that's going to change the world. And it feels like well, that's not doing anything. It's the only thing that ever has.
It's
You know
true.
what I mean?
And even you mentioned the graffiti on the Odyssey
Yeah.
happening 3 times in a row, and that is disturbing and it's hurtful and all of those things. But I find myself asking myself, what fear do those people have? And it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be. It might be internalized homophobia, whatever.
Right.
I'm not making a
Right.
judgment call on that.
Right.
But there is something. There's
Yeah.
some sort of fear of the unknown or of
Right.
the different or
Yeah.
something that is driving that passion in them.
What is it about something that we all have something that just really grinds our gears? And a lot of it can be, legit. But what is it when I do? The first thing I want to do is ask myself why. Why is this bringing out this feeling in me? And is it, if we would all just self-reflect, like why would we want to hurt someone else? Which is what I see these graffitis and these acts on people that have nothing, they weren't doing anything to you.
Yeah.
What is it that hurts?
Right.
What is it that, and then that'll just make a lot of people mad, even more mad, and then they're, but it's where I wish we would do, I think we can be easily manipulated so always understand where the motive comes from. And maybe if we all choose to embrace each other, I always say, people, you want to change the world, start local. Mm-hmm. Start with the world around you. Change
Right.
that world.
Absolutely.
And then maybe we can see a bigger, but you don't need to worry about this. Please worry about this. Keep the ones around you safe. Keep the ones you loved. You know what I mean? And then allow yourself to express, which is what you do just on a daily basis in your world. And you work on these amazing plays. And I'm sure some days it feels like work. And so it's easy to be like, oh, maybe disconnect from the importance of the work that you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there are some days that feel like I have to do something, and then there are many days that feel like I get to do something.
Yeah.
And
And
those
you take beautiful little breaks with your husband, and
do.
those are important as well.
Oh,
to
they're
celebrate
crucial.
what is important that gives you the the drive to do those things.
Yeah.
I say everybody talks, teases me I'm a cheerleader and whatever, but I want to be that, and that is. I enjoy lifting others up because
You're
it
really
lifts
good at
me
it.
up. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
But I want everybody to believe. I want everybody to find the beauty because I remember. And I will tell you this as we wind down. When I was in Wenatchee, I worked at a little theater, and to be a director in that theater, you had to do a director's festival. So you take a one act.
Sure.
I had 2 one acts that they let me direct. And one of them was called Because I Wanted to Say. And it was about a young woman who is packing up the memories of her gay best friend who has passed away from AIDS.
Ugh.
And he is there as she's packing away. And so you
Wow.
experience them. My parents were there, and I didn't tell them what my play was about. But it's a beautiful play. I'm very proud. To the day I die, I will be so proud of that. I'm still friends with the actors. I loved it. My mom came out of the theater, and she was crying. It's a hard story, sorry.
Yeah.
She was crying, and it was in that moment I understood the power of art. Because before my mom remembered why she needs to hate this, it had snuck in. The art had snuck into her, and she was moved, which you can't deny, which pissed her off. But I loved it, and it was that moment, it was like, I've always loved art and creating, but this moment told me why it's important
Right.
to create. And so I have a deep space in my heart for people who are in theater, but people who are any of the creative arts. I ask you, if you want to do it, reach out to people. Reach out to people in your community. Find out, just ask questions.
Get on a mailing list. That's what I
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
Changed
'cause
my
you
life.
never know.
Changed the course of my life.
Say hi to someone like Jeremy
Yeah.
and just say hi. Just open yourself up to something maybe you haven't done before. You'll find where you're at. And that goes for wherever you are in life.
It's true.
Whatever it is. But we need to be a little more open and stop thinking, it can't be me. It's not me. Because there are things around us that are more powerful than we will ever be or understand. And so, but it's people like you who do it every day that create that. And we need more, And that's why we do this show. That's why you go up on a stage. It's why you do anything, is to hopefully create a little beauty and to find that connection. And you offer that to people just in being part of the creation of these things we get to experience.
Sure.
So-
As a patron or a viewer of arts of any kind,
Yeah.
there's that kind of level of engagement. Then there's the part of me that gets to come out and explode, whether I'm drawing a comic strip or whether I'm acting on stage or directing or whatever.
Exactly.
Whatever that creativity that is innately in all of us.
Yeah.
Because you might say, I'm not creative at all.
Right.
Bullshit.
Exactly.
Everyone is creative in some way.
Yep.
You might not have experienced what that outlet is for
Yeah.
you, but when
Or
you do, just
maybe you just don't understand the label you put on it.
Oh, I
You know
love
what
that.
I mean?
So true. Yeah.
Sometimes we are, but we've called it something else, so therefore it can't be.
My dad never considered himself an artist. I'm like, Dad, you take Civil War rifles and reconstruct them and carve beautiful, intricate. You are an artist.
Yes.
And he has
yes.
since embraced that.
I love that.
Yeah,
we
I
need
love
to.
that.
My dad was a writer and could never accept that he would be talented in that way. His son could be. He could allow that. Oh,
Right.
you're really great.
Right.
But he would write poetry, but he would hide it because it wasn't good. And I'm like, no, we all have something. We all should be allowed to be
Encouraged to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and let it grow. I can't stop yet because you mentioned you still draw.
I do.
Because I had gone on a website. I don't know how old the website was, but you still do comics.
I do,
You had
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Can you tell us? I want people to know. Oh, this is one of them. Tell me about one of them, and then where can people go see it?
Oh my gosh.
I love
Okay.
this.
So, right when I got sober, they were doing these things down at Merlin's Comics called 24-Hour Comics Challenge. And so comic artists or aspiring ones would be locked in to the comic store for
Wow.
24 hours.
That's crazy.
And we'd sleep overnight or not sleep at all. Most of us
Right.
didn't sleep at all. And we were tasked with creating a comic book. And so I created the supermodels. At the time, I was addicted to, America's Next Top Model.
Right.
And so instead of Janice Dickinson, I had Dickie Janenson. she was the overlord of the evil Omega
That
models.
sounds right.
So models stands for mechanized organisms designed for exquisite living.
That's brilliant.
Laser heels and
Oh, wow.
oh yeah, rocket heels and laser lipstick. So they were kind of like
How is that not new?
Android Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, it needs to be a new cartoon on Netflix.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
mean,
totally. So my website is jeremycreates.com.
I love this.
I didn't want to limit myself to any kind of one creative
Right.
thing
Yeah.
because I like to do it all,
Exactly.
Some better than others, and that doesn't matter. That's the whole thing about creativity,
No.
is that it's okay to
Yes.
not achieve a level that you think or anyone else
Right,
thinks is
right.
important.
Yes.
It's just getting it out of you,
Yeah.
getting out. And mine tend to come out in comic books, and
That
you'll
is
see that. You'll
brilliant.
actually see this. We're doing Fun Home as our season
Yeah.
opener in January, based on the graphic novel by
Yeah.
Alison Bechtel.
Yeah.
And
Also, check out some graphic novels if you haven't.
oh my
Just
gosh,
saying.
there's some
there's
great
ones,
stuff
yeah.
out there. Ask around. People at bookstores will tell you what great
yeah.
graphic novels
Oh,
are.
yeah, yeah.
But the whole set is going to be panels of graphic novel
That is
everywhere.
brilliant.
Oh, it's going
That
to be
is
fun.
brilliant. See, and that's the joy of creativity. That's what I love. Speaking of, you were saying it doesn't have to be good, bad, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't have to. My friend, I adore her, Laura Estaris, if you're watching. I love this woman. She doesn't always consider herself an artist, and she is so much an artist, right? And in her office, someone has brought in this pad, and it has a little water well, and you draw whatever you want, and it goes away within 30 seconds of when you're done.
Yes.
And so Laura's like, well, I need to prove that I've done something, but you don't.
No,
You
you
need to
don't.
create and let it be part of the world. And I thought I would die. I would have a panic attack. But I'm like, I love this idea. Create whatever it is. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be anything. And even if it is, it's not staying in this world long.
I think that's one of the things I love about theater is it's so ephemeral, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
it is here and then it's gone. And,
Yeah.
and I know actors especially who get that post-show depression and like,
Every
oh,
time.
that was so wonderful,
Yeah.
and now I have nothing. And,
Exactly.
And I'm like, no, on to the next thing. Like, on to the next
Or
thing.
we all go through when you've been in the show, you all go through that moment where I cannot do another show again.
No.
And then afterwards, like you said, that horrible depression, and then you forget, like childbirth, that you told yourself I would never do this, and it is this.
It is a
this
roller coaster. Mm-hmm.
But there is nothing like sharing such an intense experience with a group of people, and I think that's what we miss.
Yes.
We miss the together, we did this, we created this. And I do love about theater, and once it's done, but those memories are crazy.
They are.
And they are always there.
Yeah.
And maybe it's okay if some things you can't capture exactly a second time.
I think that's
But
okay.
like you said, it doesn't mean there's not something else.
That's right.
Not something else
Yeah.
you can do, create, and give the world.
100%.
So, I have to tell you, I've wanted to talk to you. I had no idea that this was going to be so much fun.
It's fun.
Yeah, and that we could talk about this kind of stuff. Remember, it's important. Conversation is important. We don't do it anymore.
That's right.
We know I talk a lot. I get it. That's just part of who I am. But it's fun to exchange that energy.
It is.
And to talk about the things that I think matter. And to me, what matters, especially in a day and age when there's a lot of hate out there, it is creativity. It is the moments where something sneaks in and reaches your soul before you realize you were not supposed to let that
I
reach
love that.
it.
Yeah.
That's what art is.
It is.
And so we need people like you in our communities. We need to appreciate the creative outlets that are in the community around you, whether you're in Spokane, whether you're in LA, wherever you are, and cherish them, just like I like to cherish local businesses.
Oh my gosh, and we're surrounded by really, really great art right now.
This is
So
This
cool.
is creativity.
Yeah,
you know what
it
I mean.
really is.
In opening this business, come down to Lunarium and look at the art that's on the walls. There's a lot of really special art that's here right now. This is what I want us to celebrate, because in the end, it's more important than corporations. It's more important than the weird rules. You know what I mean?
More important than politics.
Way more important than politics.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend and I said, here's the thing. I want to create things always that are basically like, oh, the rule of society, fuck you. And then, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just want that. And just by being who we are, that's what it is. And being queer these days is like a big fuck you to everybody.
For sure.
And I'm
sure.
okay with that.
Yeah.
But thank you, my friend. Thank you for
Oh my
all the
gosh.
work you do.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for
Anytime.
coming
I'd
on,
love to
right?
come anytime.
You worked all day long, and then he's still here. So there you go. So remember, everybody, you can catch our show every Tuesday at thequeercentric.com. You can catch this show as many times as you want at thequeercentric.com, at YouTube, you can see it audio or video, wherever you want to see it. We will be here in perpetuity.
Cheers.
There you go. Cheers.
Thank you, friend.
Thank you. See you next time. Hey, Tom. Patreon. How's it going? Patreon. I am doing great. Patreon.
Wow, are you having like a stroke or something?
What are you talking about? Patreon. That's just my weird eye. Patreon.
Well, no, I'm used to that, but you're skipping like an old CD. Should I knock you on the side of the head?
Oh, okay. Calm down. Patreon. I read this thing on subliminal advertising, and since we are pushing our Patreon, I thought I'd try it out. Patreon.
Well, very subtle. I'm not sure your version of subliminal advertising is quite the method they had in mind. Patreon. Now you have me doing it.
Once you start, it's kind of hard to stop. It's kind of soothing.
And if by soothing you mean nails screeching on a chalkboard, then sure. To be very clear, it's annoying.
Yeah, I picked that up. Thanks.
We could just be straightforward and tell people to visit our Patreon at patreon.com/thequeercentric.
But I was hoping to be cool and stealth-like.
And you were accomplishing neither of those things.
You're always ruining my fun. Fine. We can just tell them that we have different levels of donations and you get cool stuff on each level and even get exclusive things.
Oh, that's the attitude. Your enthusiasm will be really contagious.
Visit us at patreon.com/thequeercentric to support us today. I mean, I swear it's fun and we will forever be grateful.
There you go.
Patreon.
Come on, are you serious?
Leave me alone.